See a sucker suit on a hot summer day. Coffee comes back in a nerve-wracking way. The dishes and laundry take the garbage out. What a day, what a day, what a day.
Well, welcome to Capital Region Today. I'm so glad you're joining us today. We've got a really great show, lots of good information. Oh, there's so much going on in this area. It's just amazing what's going on with, well, let me tell you who's coming on. We're going to be talking about the Carrot Festival. Love that event every year. Lots of great carrot cake and lots of other stuff going on, and you'll find out what's going on. And then we're talking to our artist, an author. I'm sorry, I had an artist on last show. Our author, David, has been on before, and we're going to be talking about his latest book, which I don't believe has been released yet, but it will be. And then we're going to be talking about the Italian Festival coming up. Oh, one of my favorite events of having really good food and fun and everything else. And then something a little bit more, it's joyful and yet somber because we're fighting pancreatic cancer and raising money for research. And many people come out for this, so it's in Delmar. We'll be talking with the Pipers about that as well. And then we're going to wrap up the show about the Old Stone Fort over in Schoharie County. And they're having a big Stone Fort Day coming up on September the 17th. So we'll be talking about that as well. It's going to be a great time. So there's so much to do in our area. If you're sitting home wondering what is there to do, I'm so bored, believe me, watch this show because we're going to get you on your feet and out and moving. We're going to start out with our first guest, and we have Hillary Fink with us today, and she's from Agudat Akim, a congregation, Agudat Akim, in the Carrot Festival. And with her, she's brought Joyce Perry, and she's with Whispering Willows Wild Care, and she's brought a barn owl with her.
Barn owl.
So, yeah, barn owl. There it is. And I just found out today that barn owls don't say who.
No,
Who?
barn owls screech.
There's
Which you
screech
heard,
owl.
yes.
Screech owl. Is
Well, it's
screech
not
owl
a
the
screech
same?
owl. It's like a scream.
Okay.
If you heard it in the woods, you'd run.
What
They
a
don't
beautiful
hoot like the
animal.
other
What a
owls do.
beautiful creature.
Different sound.
Yeah. And so how long have you been doing this?
Actually, I've been rehabbing for about 27 years.
You need a license to do that.
You need all kinds of, I have a license from New York State DEC
Oh,
and
look at
from
you.
the
Look, just
from
giving
the
you a little
U.S.
hug.
Fish and Wildlife. And actually, she came from Utah. I don't rehab anymore. I just take birds that are actually injured, and we do programs all over the Capital District. We do schools, we do festivals, libraries. That's how we make our money to feed our birds.
Right.
So this is Lucy Pearl. Lucy Pearl came from Utah, as I said, and she flew Delta to get here.
And she didn't fly by herself. So.
No,
Good.
she
Good
can't.
for her.
Most of our birds can't fly. They've been injured in the wild.
And well, let's talk about that just quickly
Sure.
because we'll notice as she flaps her wings,
Right,
one of
right.
them is shorter than the
You
other.
can see that she actually had to have a partial amputation of the wing
What
to
happened,
save
do you
her
think?
life.
Was it caught? Whoa!
No, she was hit by a car. Whoop.
So now if I need a quill, I'm all set.
Okay, about that. No one is allowed to have a feather.
I'm
It is
putting
illegal.
it here. I didn't take it. I didn't
Believe
take
or
it. I
not,
touched
It is illegal for you to have a feather of any raptor.
Okay.
These are all migratory birds.
So what do we do with
They're
this?
all
You're going to keep
protected.
that, right?
I'm going to keep that because I do let the kids, when I do programs, I let the kids touch the feathers because they're not allowed to touch the birds.
Okay.
Can you turn around?
How did that happen that her feather came out?
Oh, she's probably molting. This time of year they molt. They lose feathers and they get new feathers to
Oh, okay.
replace the old ones, just like your dog sheds. So Lucy Pearl is a barn owl. You can see the difference. One thing, they can eat about 1,000 mice a year. So some of the farmers out west, instead of using pesticides on our foods, are actually putting barn owl boxes up and letting them go after the rodents.
Yeah, and then they'll just take care of them that way. Yeah.
Yes, and she can eat about 1,000 mice a year.
Okay.
Also, as you can
About
see,
3
her
a day,
eyes are
yeah.
smaller than some other owls because she actually can hunt almost in total darkness because of her hearing. Her hearing is so good. Your ears would have to be 10 times as big
Yeah.
to hear like
To
the
hear
owls
like
do.
they do. Amazing. So you're going to be at the Carrot Festival, and you'll be doing some educational.
Yes, we will be at the Carrot Festival, and we will have 4 or 5 birds with us. This is not the only owl that we have. So please come and see us. It would be great. We'd love to see you at the Carrot Festival. It'll be fun, and you'll learn all about the birds.
Good. And as I said earlier, I'd love to have you on the show again, just to talk about
We'd love to do that.
specifically
We could
what you're
bring
doing.
several birds at
Good.
that point. We'd
Hillary.
be glad to.
So you've got this, but what else do you have
We
that's
have
going to be
this-
featured?
We have so much more. We're happy to be back to pretty much normal this year, just like everybody else.
Yeah, everybody's
from
struggling.
The last couple of years. We'll have lots of stuff for kids to do, including pony rides. We'll have alpacas, reptiles.
The alpacas are wonderful, aren't they?
Music, games, science, an airplane will be there for a touch a truck area. So plenty of stuff for the kids. We have lots of vendors and crafters with all different kinds.
And it's all
of
on your
wares.
grounds.
All on the grounds, mostly outside. We'll have some vendors, and the carrot cake gets sold inside. Speaking of carrot cake, that's the star of
Love
our
this carrot
show
cake. I love your
on
carrot
that day. We'll have different varieties of carrot cake. We're going to have carrot cookies. New this year, we'll have gluten-free carrot cookies.
Okay.
Plenty of different foods for people to purchase and try. We'll have local farm fresh produce. We partner
nice.
with the
Like a
Carrot
little
Barn.
farmer's market
Yes,
area.
in fact, that's how the Carrot Festival started, bringing in
The
produce
Westheimers, right?
with the Westheimers, yes. And we bring in produce from the Carrot Barn that they used to own, and that goes back to
They
our
were in
roots,
Schoharie
no pun
County, and we have
intended.
Schoharie County on the show
Oh,
today. Yeah,
that's
talking
perfect.
about, yeah.
Yep, we'll have live entertainment throughout the day. We also
Got a
have.
klezmer band?
We do, yes.
I love klezmer music.
And we'll also have a community service area where local nonprofit agencies, such as Lucy's,
Okay.
will be there to promote the good that they do in the community. And as a piece of that, we also partner with CDTA, and we do a Stuff the Bus,
Oh, good.
where we have 4 local organizations are providing us with lists of their much-needed supplies. So festival goers are encouraged to bring
How will they
a
know?
donation.
How will they know?
It'll be in our advertising. I can tell you the organizations now, we're still waiting on
Okay.
their lists. We have Joseph's House in Troy.
Oh, they're a great organization.
Yep, the Animal Protective Foundation, Rise in Albany, which is a.
Yep, for hearing him.
refugees.
Oh, that's a different one. Okay, good.
It's for refugees. And then we'll also have Reading is Fun, which is a literacy
Oh, yeah,
program
yeah,
for
yeah.
kindergarten
Yeah, Al
through
is
fourth
doing
graders.
that, right, yeah.
So, yep, so we'll have, like I said, something for everyone.
Good. Well, and what I like especially about the event is that you do have, it's great for kids. Bring them and have them
Yes.
explore and have fun.
Kids of all ages.
Of all ages. Well, I'm one of them. I'm one of those kids because I do love, and I love your, when you have your, what is it, not a garage sale, but you have, yeah, you call it a
We
garage
do
sale.
a garage sale.
That's amazing.
That'll be later in the fall.
Yeah, that's amazing too. So, and you have a beautiful, is it a temple? I mean, I don't know how to.
Temple.
It's a temple, yeah.
Synagogue.
You have a beautiful, I've been in there. It is really beautiful inside. So
Yes,
if you get
it
an
is.
opportunity to go inside, take a look, your mural on the walls and things. I mean, it's a beautiful facility.
And people will be welcome on the day of the festival to
Yeah.
take a look also.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I've been there a number of times, and I just really think you've got a beautiful place, so.
Thank you.
One more date, what time? The date is?
It's on September 11th.
Right.
From 10 until 5. Can I say one more thing that we're doing?
Sure, go right ahead.
Speaking of September 11th, part of our entertainment lineup, although it's not really entertainment because it's on September 11th, we are doing a special ceremony to commemorate
Yeah.
September 11th. We'll be honoring first
those lives that were
responders
lost,
and
yeah.
the lives that were lost, and also, being, realizing the importance of still being together, and how I'm looking at it as being so awesome this year that, it's been 3 years since we've been together in full, although we did modified festivals the last 2 years. But the fact that it's on September 11th and, honoring people who we lost and served, but also being, honoring that it's important to be together as a community, and the fact that this is our first time really getting back together
And all the lives that
as
were
a
lost with
community.
COVID too, so we need to.
Correct, so
yeah.
we're also going to be adding frontline workers as part of the people who we're honoring. during the ceremony.
Thank you, Hillary, for being here. And Joyce, thank you so much for bringing, what's your name, Peggy Sue? No,
Lucy Pearl.
Lucy Pearl. I'm going to get Peggy Sue, I don't know, but anyway. But thank you, and I'll be seeing you again on the show. We'll see you
Thank you.
next year.
Okay,
Yeah, great.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Hillary, for being here today, and Joyce. And we're going to switch over to an author. And actually, I have a book that he was on before. It's called
She doesn't
T.R.'s
like
Last
somebody coming
War. And that certainly was all about Roosevelt, but it was Teddy.
Teddy,
We're going to be talking about Franklin now.
that's right.
Was he a relative?
a like fifth cousin,
Okay.
but Eleanor was the niece.
Well, she was a
She was-
relation, right?
She was the niece of Theodore,
Yeah.
and also a relation of Franklin
I
in
know.
some way.
They were cousins or
And
something, or
recall that her
distant cousins,
her
right?
actual name is, well, yes,
Yeah.
Anna Eleanor Roosevelt
Really?
Roosevelt,
Oh.
because her father was T.R.'s younger brother.
Okay.
His wastrel brother, kind of
Okay.
a dissolute fellow.
He wasn't
He
a
wasn't.
politician.
He wasn't T.R.
Yeah, he wasn't. Teddy.
No. So
Okay, and so the book you wrote today is about Franklin, right?
it's about Franklin. I can't get away from these Roosevelts.
Well, because they're a force. They were a force.
They were, and if you're doing basically the first half or so of the 20th century American political history, they're pretty much it.
Well, he was a president. As a matter of fact, I think I pulled up, you saw the screen that I pulled up, that he was
Yeah.
president for 12 years.
12 years, four
And is that when they
elections.
changed the law?
They changed the law, yes. Different political parties make different rules. So Franklin Roosevelt is elected 4 times, and then the Republicans take power in the House of Representatives with a big majority in 1946, and they pass a constitutional amendment where
No more than
you can't do that anymore, unless you're Harry Truman, who your grandfather. But Harry Truman, not too popular in 52,
Yeah, he
and we
didn't,
end
yeah.
up with Ike. In terms of those terms that Franklin Roosevelt has, there's another constitutional amendment, which is to shorten the interregnum, as William F. Buckley Jr.
And
might
say
have
that,
said.
I don't know
The
that word.
interregnum, the space in between.
Okay.
So you have an election, and then the guy doesn't take over the next day.
Oh, because, yeah, we had to wait from
So we
November
wait from
to-
November to January, but before that, it was till March.
Oh, I think I remember
Yeah.
hearing that, yeah.
And aside from that just being a long time anyway.
Well, there's a transition, but you can do the transition.
You could do
and
it quicker than that,
Yeah, yeah.
and we had this thing in
If you have the cooperation and
Depression,
everything,
you know, waiting to get rid of Herbert Hoover, so it's like, we really need to kick this
Move
up
it
and
up.
get it going. So his first term is actually shorter, it's not a 4-year term. Trivia question.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. I mean, really, because then he started in March the first time.
He starts in March, and then he starts again in January.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, one thing about Roosevelt that we kind of don't, and I don't know if everybody knows, he was influential with Social Security.
Yes.
And yet we think it's been there ever, but it hasn't.
No, it's passed around 1935. They don't start collecting the taxes until after the 1936 election.
Okay,
And people don't start collecting until 1940.
okay, 4 years.
All right, yeah. And then there's actually a lot of people not covered. A lot of
Like the politicians.
well, a lot of blacks were not covered, and that was a complaint. Yes. Well, 3 reasons. One, a lot of them were unemployed or on relief, more
Okay.
so than
Yeah, yeah.
the white population. The second thing is agricultural workers were not covered. So and a lot of blacks
Even if
were
though
still
you
in the
paid-
South.
You paid taxes though?
Well, you didn't pay the tax, you just weren't part of the program.
Oh, you weren't part of the so therefore they didn't take anything out
They
for
didn't take
Social
out,
Security.
so you're just not covered. And then the third group was domestic workers. Remember that there
They
were
weren't-
still a lot more domestic, before
And
everyone had an
mainly
appliance to do
the
everything.
blacks were in those positions.
That's right.
Okay.
So they were not covered in a lot of categories, and there was a complaint from the black community
It should have been,
on that. Yeah. But they did receive a lot of projects, public housing projects, all sorts of things, literacy projects under the New Deal, and that's when. Now, in 1932, there's 3 groups of people still voting for Herbert Hoover. Okay?
Yeah, people
One
with money.
is people with money, which is a lot smaller group than was in 1928.
Yeah.
People in the kind of New England through upstate New York and into maybe Ohio. The Northeast was still.
for Hoover?
For Hoover,
Oh,
yes,
really?
yeah. The Northeast was more conservative. The West was kind of radical and,
Boy, have things changed.
yes, the Northeast was the conservative area. And the third group was blacks. They continued to vote for Herbert Hoover. Well, they've been voting.
Was that the two chickens in every pot? Was he the
No, it was that.
Who was the two chickens in every pot?
That was Hoover.
That was Hoover, yeah.
But they didn't get any chickens or
No.
any pots or anything, but they knew who the Democrats were. And the Democrats were still influenced by the Southern Democrats, the segregation.
Boy, things have changed so
Right,
much,
right.
haven't they?
And because the things were flipped in the Northeast and the South and the West, who's nominating Franklin Roosevelt in 1932? It's not the Northeast.
Really?
It's the West and the South. And FDR has a lot of homes. He's got Hyde Park. He's got a townhouse in New York City on the Upper East Side.
Got
And
a place in Aiken,
Georgia.
Yeah?
Georgia.
No, South Carolina.
No, Georgia. Warm Springs, Georgia.
Georgia, okay.
And that's where that March of Dimes thing, because polio.
I know there's something with Aiken, South Carolina.
Aiken, Georgia is where his
South Carolina.
South Carolina, where his girlfriend was living.
That's it, because I have a relative that lives in Aiken,
That's
and
right.
they told me all about that.
Yes.
See, I knew that.
And that's why Eleanor was never too crazy about Franklin after about 1917.
Yeah.
And Lucy Mercer Rutherford.
Lucy Mercer, that was it.
Was actually with Franklin Roosevelt at
When he-
Warm Springs when he keels over,
Yeah.
and Eleanor was not. So it's a very complex marriage.
It is complex, but she was a force within herself.
She's a force within herself. She is the shall we say, the leg man or the late woman
Yeah.
who's going out and checking things out for FDR because he can't travel easily.
Well, and they tried to, in photographing him, they used to try to do it from the waist up because they didn't want to underscore the fact that he had had polio.
You'd see him standing up, but he'd be with a cane.
With a cane or,
He'd
yeah,
always be hanging
forearm,
onto somebody's arm, okay? If his car would pull up to a town, there was like a special little platform where he could stand up in the car and not get out. And he would probably drive up to a little ramp in the middle of the
Okay.
street.
But
to
people
talk
did
to
not
people.
see that. Well, they didn't do a lot of photography.
People
at
thought
that.
it wasn't as bad as it was, but it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. You have to give him credit for
So
dealing with that.
your book deals with the entire spectrum of 1935.
No, well,
to-
35, 36, when things are gearing up and people aren't sure. Politics moves in cycles. So when you're hot, and when you're not, you're not. And when he takes office, the economy comes up pretty strongly. Then there's a bit of a recession. The Supreme Court steps in, gets active, and abolishes his National Recovery Administration, which was setting all kinds of regulations for all kinds of businesses and codes, and sort of a cartelization of industry. I mean, it would tell you how much you could press a shirt for or a pair of pants.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or how it happened in the Supreme Court is we had an owl on the show. So you were if you were buying a live chicken from somebody went in and bought a chicken in Brooklyn from the Schechter brothers, and the rule said you couldn't pick out the chicken you wanted. I know, it's crazy. And
But that one got abolished.
and it got abolished, and also the Agricultural Administration, Adjustment Administration, which was lowering production. People are starving in the Depression, but they're cutting back on food production to jack the prices up for the farmers. And that gets knocked out too.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I mean, you understand how these things got put in place, but they don't work.
They don't work. I mean, they meant well, but the unintended
Trying to help the
consequences-
farmers, but
right,
it
right.
injured, yeah.
And the city people aren't awash in money at that point either. So in 1935, his approval rating is way up high. And at the beginning of 36, they asked the same question: do you like the New Deal? People, not so much. The Literary Digest projects a big Landon victory, Republican victory in that year, and everyone goes, now historically that was terrible, and the magazine goes out of business because of that. But in the middle of the year, George Gallup, pollster we all know to this day,
Gallup polls.
scientific polling, because polling is
Well,
never
it's still
wrong.
sampling.
It's still
Sampling.
it's still like listening to the weather report.
Yeah.
Okay. He says at one point that Landon's going to take the Electoral College, and he says this is going to be the closest election of our century, and as we know, it's not. Roosevelt, Jim Farley, his campaign manager, says it's going to be 46 out of 48 states, and it is exactly that. Landon carries only Maine and Vermont, which ain't the two biggest states in the world.
So Roosevelt carried the 46.
And Landon doesn't even carry his own state of Kansas, which we think of as a pretty Republican state, but he doesn't do that. So it is a great upstate, and a lot of people are worried about how it's going to be in the Democratic Party. Yeah. And he does strange things. Like after the nomination, he gets on his yacht and just goes out into the middle of not in the middle of North Atlantic, but into the North Atlantic offshore Campobello, and is isolated for a week or two. I mean, he spends a lot of time on boats.
Well, he likes boats.
And isolated from people.
Yeah.
But he's also meeting with people constantly in 15-minute chunks.
But they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have internet.
No,
It's like,
everyone had to come in and troop in and see him. And just about everybody leaves, at first anyway, thinking, FDR agrees with me. Okay?
So he knew how to make it a win-win situation.
Right, but after a while, now when somebody's on the skids in politics, all of his old friends will turn on him. You see how many, I mean, he's never on the skids, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He's still president in 1945. But people like Jim Farley or Huey Long or Al Smith, people who had been allied with him at one time or another, or Father Coughlin, the demagogue, all are going to turn on him at some point because they feel misled. John Nance Gardner, his vice president. It's not, vice presidents and presidents always, sometimes
Doesn't always work out
Doesn't
that
always,
way, does it?
actually rarely works
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So all Social Security, he doesn't want to do it originally, by the way. He gives a speech there, and he corrects Harry Hopkins, his big advisor, who wants to go for old age pensions. He says, no, that's not the deal. We want unemployment insurance first. But out on the West Coast, there's a big push for a really unfunded plan, a economically bad plan, which Roosevelt hates. And to stop this plan from getting traction, that's when Roosevelt puts in the Social Security plan.
Well, you're going to find out all about that. When is your book going to be released?
September 13th.
Okay.
Yes, we
And then
have a copy here.
Okay,
They
good.
just came in to me, but not available in any store at
But
this
you will.
point.
I mean, anyone who's a historian, this is the book they
Yeah.
need to read.
Yeah, this is like my other ones, like you said.
Are you going to be on C-SPAN?
I hope to be, but
Yeah.
one never knows
Yes,
until the
I know.
last
He's
minute.
usually on for C-SPAN.
Yeah, they've been good to me. They've
I
been
know
good
they
to
have.
me, but
I-
you don't hear well in advance.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, David.
Unlike
And thank
your
you-
program.
And thank you so much for bringing life to history.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's important.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
We're going to go over to our next guest, and we're going to learn all about the Italian. Wait a minute. I got to get my.
There you go. You look just beautiful, Anne,
Wait a minute. Is this supposed to be in the front or the back? I'm not
Well,
sure.
there's little things all over.
Oh, they're all
so
the way
it
around.
goes all
Okay.
over, yes. And I forgot mine today. Are you doing the tarantella?
Do the
There
tarantella.
you go, right around.
Doreen,
And that
so-
will be a full day of fun.
I know.
on
So
North
tell
J
me what
Street.
you got planned.
Saturday, September 10th.
Okay.
12 noon to 9. It'll be our 17th annual. Of course, well,
Isn't that something?
we're still counting the COVID year as
Yeah,
the
yeah.
15th year. And then, of course, last year, circumstances beyond our control.
Well, I mean, we all dealt with that.
And so this will be our 17th annual. Same thing, on our south stage, we'll have Linda Ezzo. She likes to do Italian opera.
Oh, nice,
Linda
nice.
Ezzo Jones, she has a beautiful voice, and John DiFilippo, he'll sing modern Italian songs.
Okay.
And then
Volare, right? There we go.
well, things now, present day, that
Okay.
teenagers like. And
Oh,
young
okay.
adults.
Oh, you mean
Yeah.
the real, not
Right,
Italian only?
right,
Okay,
right.
gotcha.
And then on the north stage, the main stage, we'll have Ed Clifford, the Human Jukebox.
Yeah, he's been on my show,
Yes,
yeah.
I love him, and Brian D.
Okay, Di Giuseppe, right?
They'll be DJing at first, followed up with
Blank.
Happy Days.
Oh, Happy
Easy,
Days. Well, they
Happy
play a
Days.
lot,
Oh,
yeah.
they play a lot. They're
Yeah.
wonderful, great band. And then the evening band will be the Rogues.
Oh, yeah, I know those guys, yeah.
Absolutely, great guys,
They play at
George
the casino
They
occasionally.
play at the casino and Freedom Park, so
Yeah.
we're planning a big event, music-wise. There'll be bouncy bounces for the children, the Schenectady Heritage Museum, and the Sons and Daughters of Italy.
Right.
We'll have a cultural.
They finally
tent.
changed it.
There we go.
When I was in the Sons of Italy, I kept saying, what about the daughters? Well, we consider the sons the daughters. No, that doesn't work that way.
Years ago, when I first joined, there was the Cornelius something lodge. and
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
what the-
Abruzzi.
Right, that's what
yeah,
the women
yeah.
belong to, and of course, the gentlemen belong
Yeah.
to the Sons of Italy. So it is now the sons and daughters.
Makes
of-
sense, doesn't
yeah,
it?
Absolutely. So they'll be there again Dolores will be there with a huge presentation of photos of Italian immigrants when they
Oh,
first came to
wonderful,
Schenectady.
wonderful, yeah. We had a big immigration, here.
Please,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Throughout the whole country,
Yeah.
you know, but here in Schenectady, I mean, the Italians.
And they all
the
seem to
Polish,
come from the
Irish,
Campania.
Fontecchiari,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
Fresnone area, a lot
Yeah.
from here.
I think because their relatives were here, so they,
Sure,
yeah.
so they came over, they were sponsored by their
Exactly.
relatives, and they came here, so, and we've had some great Italian culture here in the
Oh,
city.
my God, yes.
And continue to.
Absolutely.
And you'll be able to taste some of that we'll start with more parecas. And more parecas, Maria usually has a little booth outside, well, a big booth.
Yeah.
And then you can go into parecas and buy.
And
whatever-
Civitello's has a big thing, too.
And Civitello's has a monstrous,
They
outside
they
our
usually
cake.
make homemade pasta.
they'll have homemade cavadillos, of course, lemon ice, and there'll be all kinds of zapala, fried
Yeah.
dough.
Zaple, oh my God,
Yeah,
I
the
love
Zapala.
those.
I
Yeah,
do too.
yeah.
I go from festa to festa during the summer,
Yeah.
trying everyone's Zapala.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
won't tell you which ones I
I
like
make
the
I
best.
make a good one too.
I do
Yeah,
too,
yeah, yeah.
yes. Father Fazzoni's mom, Josephine, gave me her recipe. That's what we use at St. Anthony's.
Okay.
And every Christmas morning, I make them for the girls.
Yeah, you got to eat them right away.
Oh,
pretty
right away.
much.
They
Yeah,
get a
you
little
got to
hard.
eat them.
There's
Yeah.
no preservatives.
Yeah.
And of course, we're very excited about Cornell's on J Street.
Yeah, they just- yeah,
Little Italy
yeah.
being open this year.
Are they going to have a separate booth, even
They'll-
though?
they'll be right outside
Yeah,
of
because
their
more
building.
Parecas, they're kind of connected. yeah.
Absolutely, and in between the buildings, there'll be seating. Maria will have seating there. There's always seating on Civitello's patio. We'll have seating in front of the south stage. MOPCO, we can't forget about MOPCO, obviously.
They're
not.
great, yeah.
Right, so. he'll
Mike
be
Burns
putting-
and Kate
Mike-
Coppock, yeah.
They'll be putting on free shows throughout the
Oh,
day.
nice, nice.
Absolutely. One year, they had some Muppets hanging out of their top windows. It was really cute.
Yeah.
And we have probably 18 to 20 vendors that'll be on the street as well.
Yeah, they usually, they're fun to go through
Yep,
and look,
yep.
yeah.
There'll be some wine vendors and, you know, there'll be just lots of things to do for the day. And I'm not sure about the Stockade Art Show or the Greek Fest, but it's normally the same weekend.
Well, Stockade Art Show was on just at my last show.
Okay.
And so they were on, and theirs is going to be the 10th,
The same as us, so it's a
except if
downtown.
it rains, then it'll be
They
there.
do have a rain date. We do not have a rain date. If it rains on the 10th.
Bring an umbrella.
It goes off on the 10th, and that's the way it is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But so people, you know, come downtown and meander for the whole day.
And the Greek Festival, are they having it this year? I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure, but it's usually that
I haven't
weekend.
heard, yeah. Because usually it's like, I would go to the art festival, then come to the Italian, and have lunch there, go to the Greek, have dinner, come back to the Italian.
Italian for some music at the end of the night.
Yeah.
It's just a lovely event downtown, you
Yeah.
know, the
And it's
whole
all
city.
within walkable. I mean,
All
if you don't
walking.
mind walking a little bit to the art thing, I mean, it's no big deal. It's
Not
just,
at all, not at all.
Yeah.
You know, it's, the whole city is just alive and vibrant with so many things to do, like you say, between Music Haven, I mean, there's shows there.
Aren't they? Oh,
Please,
Mona
just
Gola, my
please.
God, she has done a
Wonderful.
wonderful.
You know, everything that goes on in the stockade and just the entire city is alive and moving forward.
Yeah,
so.
there's just so much going on, and now that COVID has kind of let up, I don't say totally, because we all still have to be careful.
Absolutely. I was talking to the gentleman earlier. I mean, we said if you're sneezing and coughing, wear a mask.
Yeah.
I mean, so no one catches the common cold.
Exactly, even if it's a cold. And they found out that the flu went down because people were taking care of themselves.
Wearing masks. You know, one thing I said, you know, I don't put my fingers to my mouth anymore, you know, for turning.
I know, and I have to catch myself because sometimes I want to rub my eye and I go, no, because the virus goes into the eye.
Into the eyes, yes.
So I'm being careful too as well.
There'll be there'll be eggplant, there'll be arancini. I know Maria makes a lot of the arancinis, the rice balls.
That's the rice balls. You know, I've
Absolutely.
never made those. Do you make them?
I do not make them. My friend Carmel makes them. It's a family tradition. It wasn't where my mom came from in
Well,
Italy.
where did your family come from?
My mom comes from Potenza, a little town called Pietragala, down outside of Naples.
Okay, see, so
Yes.
we're in the same area because
Yes.
ours is Campania.
Yep.
And Lazio in that area.
Right.
And the thing is that I don't think we did the rice there.
No, we didn't. I guess it just depends on where you're.
It's like we used to do some polenta, but I understood
a
northern
lot of
was
polenta.
more polenta up north.
Was it real? Oh, because we grew up on polenta.
Yeah,
We loved
I
polenta
love polenta,
growing
yeah.
up, absolutely.
It's
I don't
hard
think
to make.
anyone- It is, and it's.
Not hard to make, you just
It's
have
a
to know how to
time,
make it.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
Because you want it to come off the pan.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, it's got a lot of stirring. And
Exactly.
it takes like an hour to clean the pan afterwards. Yes. The cornmeal's all stuck
Yeah, I
to
know,
it.
I know.
Yeah,
But it's so good, and then it
delicious.
gets hard and you slice it.
Yes,
Oh, God.
well, again, where Sister Maria Rosa was from, up in Unadi, up past Venice, they like a hard polenta. My mom always made a soft polenta.
Yeah, but you can still slice it.
No,
you
like a
couldn't.
little
Oh, see, my
softer,
mother used
almost
to
a
let it
little-
set and then.
No, almost like a soupy with chunks
Oh,
of
really?
sausage
Well, we've had
in
it that way, but she also
Yes.
used to dry it, or kind of slice it.
Yes, yes, and I love it sliced, and I'll bring it home and I'll barbecue it, some roasted peppers on top of it.
You're making my mouth water.
But it's sure to be another wonderful
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
celebrating our Italian heritage
And
and
then
culture here in
this
the
goes
city.
on until the evening, where
The
around 9
evening,
o'clock.
yeah, things kind of.
Should they bring their own chairs?
Oh, bring your own lawn chairs, I forget, yeah, bring your own lawn chairs. We will
And bring
have
small bills.
small bills, I know they're grateful, the businesses, for small bills.
You
yes.
walk in and you hand them a 50, the place just opens up and you hand them a 50 and they go, what?
So we'll have, handicap accessible porta potties, for everyone, and it's just a lot of good things.
Thank
We
you
have
for having
Hunters
it.
on Jay, they'll
Yeah.
have, and new this year, Backstage Pub will be serving some brews as well.
Okay.
And of course, we have Jim Segru, and his lot is always open, he has something going on there. And Kristen's Treme on Jay, she normally has
The hair.
novelties.
She does
Right.
salon, yeah.
Yep, and novelties, there'll be face painting, so just a fun day for all.
Good.
Yes.
So if you're looking for a fun day with your kids, and just come out and enjoy the music and enjoy the food. The food is wonderful. I mean, every festival has food. This one is phenomenal, right, Doreen?
Thank you, Ann. It is.
Yeah, I
It
know,
is.
I know.
It is.
And this was from last year.
That was from last year, or
Yes.
probably a couple of years ago.
You know, I kept it, right?
Yes, absolutely. It looks beautiful.
It does,
Yes,
doesn't it?
it
I think
does.
stunning, right? Good. Now I'm ready to dance.
There we go.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Say
you,
hi to
Ann.
Rowie. I'm
I
sorry she
will.
couldn't
I
make it.
will. Thank you.
We're going to go to our next guest, and we're going to be talking about the pancreatic cancer in Lustgarten, and you're wearing your purple.
We are.
We are.
Yes. Tell me, you're raising a lot of money?
We
You
are.
have in the past.
We have.
This is our 19th annual walk, and in the last 18 years, we raised over $1.4 million. Starting slow,
But it built.
it built, and
built.
the last pre-COVID year, we brought in
Over 150, yeah.
$152,000.
It's a lot of money
So-
you're bringing up that you raise.
Yeah,
And you are a force, both of you.
thank
I
you.
believe we are.
Yeah, no kidding. Pancreatic cancer, just to talk about that briefly, it's one of those cancers that by the time you find out you have it, it's almost too late.
Yeah.
I lost, I think, at least 2 friends that within 3 months. Each one, from the time that they heard about it To the time they died, it was 3
Yeah.
months. They were both professors at colleges, by the way. So
It's very common.
what the thrust, I think, of your research, part of it is early diagnosis.
Yes,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
if you find it early enough to
It's
be
curable.
operable,
Yeah.
then you survive. And that's what we're raising funds for.
Are there blood tests? I understand that there's some blood
There
tests.
is a blood
that-
test
Yes.
that is going to be starting clinical trials.
I just heard about that, yeah.
It's called CancerSeek. And
Is it for all cancers or
It
just?
detects 8 different kinds of
The
cancer,
most common ones.
99% accuracy in detecting that kind of cancer.
The
And
colon cancer is another one. I hope that
Yes,
they
and
threw that in there.
ovarian
Yeah.
Yep.
and breast.
and 72% accuracy in identifying pancreatic cancer in stages 1 through 3. And that
That's
is
where you can do
amazing.
something.
That's
with
when
it.
you can do something,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, I know I'm on the, because of my background, I get all the alerts on that. And so I watch carefully about the pancreatic cancer,
Yeah.
especially knowing the two of you and what your passion is to raise money for Lustgarten.
Yes.
Tell me, what is Lustgarten?
Lustgarten Foundation is a foundation dedicated to pancreatic cancer research, privately funding pancreatic cancer
And
research.
all the money that you raise goes there?
100% of money
Okay,
raised.
So there's no, like, a fundraiser, somebody takes a cut on it?
No,
No.
there is a separate administrative amount coming in
And
that supports
it's
that.
underwritten. So every penny that anyone who comes to our walk gives goes straight to research.
And where is the research done? Is this like farmed out to different colleges in
It's everywhere.
NIH
There
or
is a
anything?
consortium that they've created, and they're all over. They're actually in Europe. Hospitals are contributing to the research. They're no longer at each other's throats.
Well,
That's
see,
the big thing.
that's,
That was the
there was
big
that
hug with-
competition.
yes. That was the big thing with Stand Up to Cancer, and which Lustgarten, if you've ever watched their programs, is always featured. Because instead of all the researchers competing for money, they are working together.
Yep.
And that, therefore, things are accelerated.
The collaborative effort has multiplied
Yep.
the rate of success.
There's a
Potential, yeah.
Yeah, Lustgarten
Exponentially.
is part of the Pancreatic Cancer Collective,
Yeah.
Yep.
so they're working together.
When we work together, we always do better. But
Absolutely.
why
Except
can't
in
we-
our case, because
Why can't we get it through our heads throughout our entire
that would be
life?
wonderful.
That
I
no
wish
matter
we
what
could.
field we're in, let's work together.
Yes.
I don't know why we all seem to be, I want to be the best. I want to be, that kind of
Right.
thing. So I want to come out with a cure.
You
work
know, that's
together.
great in sports
Yeah,
to be competitive.
yeah.
But why be competitive in research?
No.
But there's no I in team, as every physical
Oh, yeah, I
education
mean,
that's
teacher will
right.
tell
But
you.
that's true, really. So when are you having this walk?
We are in the same busy weekend. We will be walking on the morning of September 11th, on Sunday.
it's a busy-
So
busy week.
Very
people
busy.
who have gone to the Italian festival can walk off some of that so that they can then go to the Carrot Festival and have dessert.
Right. My mouth has been watering all morning listening
So we
to
can
this.
you can get rid of some of that guilt.
Now,
Read
what
it.
time is the,
Registration is at 8 a.m.
okay.
And we have a number of activities in the pavilion at Elm Avenue Town Park in Del Bar.
Because even if you're not walking, you can be
Oh,
supportive
yes.
there.
We have a
Absolutely.
pick a prize auction. We have, there'll be a live band, Shades of Grey will be playing. We have a complimentary coffee and from Dunkin' Donuts and Price Chopper, apple cider donuts and apple cider. We have a face painter. We have purple hair extensions, so the kids are busy.
What a great idea.
The
And-
Schenectady puppet people come for the kids.
Right. And massage chair.
There'll be a masseuse. And we also, because this is Neil's craziness, we have a pet parade. So many people came with their
It's
pets
a party.
dressed up.
It is a party.
It
Well, it was
is.
funny because when I went to announce it, I go like, well, it's a celebration, but it's also, so I have a little struggle there because we want to pay homage to those
Yes.
that have passed and fought the fought.
Yes.
Fought the
And everybody
fought the
who's
fight.
coming has lost somebody, and we have many families that come and just gather and remember, but also remember with joy and work so that other families will not have to go through this.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that it's hope, and looking at where their money is going and the research that's being
And
done.
it is sort of a family thing because teams come back year after year to
Yeah.
celebrate the lives of those that we've lost
Okay.
every single year.
So if you put a team together, what kind of contribution do you make to it?
Each person registering is asked to contribute $50.
Okay, well,
For
that's-
registration fee. Now, that can be, you can put in the $50.
Or you can
could,
raise it.
You can raise it so people can support people walking.
Hopefully that $50 would be a lot higher if they get some support.
Yes, yes. And also, we encourage people, if you have family out of town or people who don't feel comfortable coming out in this day of COVID, you can be a virtual walker.
Oh, okay.
And you can still fundraise and help out and work in your own neighborhood. You know, join us from home and think about us. We will have our opening ceremonies. We will have a moment of silence for those lost.
We're going to have a color guard.
Yes, because
Boy
it's
Scout color
9/11.
guard.
So we will also honor the lives lost of 9/11.
Yeah,
and
because you're
also-
doing it on 9/11.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also, we will ask any first responders and health professionals to come and join our survivors at the ribbon cutting to start the walk.
It's a way to bring people together for, I don't want to say common, but it is a common feeling that, that you're supporting and you're helping. I think the feel that I get is you're helping. You're
Yes.
trying to find a cure for this. Or
Right.
even if you can't find the cure, you find how to diagnose it quickly, and then maybe you got the next step that you
Yes, and there are treatments now also that
Yeah.
are being studied, and advances in that as well. So the fact is that we've been doing this for 19 years.
You've been on my show, I think, almost every year.
Yeah, and
We're growing old together.
Yeah, we're growing old.
the amount of research that has come out in the last 8 years has been. It's sort of like when you do something, you get 80% of the stuff done in 20% of the time, but then you get the last 20% in 80%
Yeah,
of the time.
it dwindles, yeah.
Yeah, so there was a large, rapid amount of fundraising early on, but in the last 8 years, we've seen a great number of advancements in pancreatic cancer research.
We're using artificial intelligence. They're finding that they're training artificial intelligence to be used to look at scans where even a pathologist looking with the best magnifying glasses.
Yeah,
magnifying
AI,
stuff,
yeah.
doesn't find as much as AI is finding. We're looking at targeted drug therapies. So
they're
that they
doing a
can
lot
look
with-
at the genetics of your particular cancer and work more effectively at treating
The
it.
Albany College of Pharmacy is doing a lot with biopharmaceutics.
They've worked with us, CAPS.
Yes, they did.
They're really, and I went through their new facility. It's amazing what they're doing, the in and the out. I mean, it's what they're doing with cell work and the biopharmaceutics. I think that is the next step when it
Yes.
comes to treatment, is that if we can streamline treatments to the person.
Yes.
Through their DNA or whatever
Right.
it is. They're doing it with breast cancer now, so why
Yes.
not do it with all the
Well, they're
cancers?
looking at that,
Absolutely.
they're looking at developing organoids. So they're taking a person's cancer.
Growing in a
The
petri
yes.
dish and treating it with particular chemicals to see what will happen.
We've been doing that with bacteria for when you
Yes.
have an infection.
Yeah.
I used to set up these petri dishes,
Sure.
and you'd set up the different treatments, and then you just see which ones had the big circle that it didn't grow at all.
Yep.
Well, they're trying to do the same
We used to
thing
do
with
that
with the
research, yeah.
therapies for pancreatic cancer, because that means that instead of, we all know people who have gone through one treatment, not had much success, and then the next, and then the next. We want to go straight to the most effective for that
Yeah,
particular
not
individual.
not just trial and error, but to try and just cut right to the
Exactly.
chase and get to that one spot
Yep,
where it does.
for that particular patient.
So
Yeah.
that's where all our hope is.
And even though we talk about pancreatic cancer, there's probably just a little bit different with each one of them that, and then throw in the DNA.
Yep.
Right.
So now you've got a few things that you can put together and try and do that treatment. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, I hope that you get really a great turnout as well. and
We
try
hope
to
Thank
so
you.
form
We
too.
money.
hope so too.
We hope to
You
get
know,
back to pre-COVID
in
numbers.
2019, we had over 600 people at the walk.
That's wonderful.
In 2020, of course, everything was done virtually. In 2021, we had over 350 people, and that was still
That was in the middle
questionable.
of the pandemic.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we expect to have
And
a
it's
lot more
outside,
people
so
now.
I think that
It
we
is.
feel a little bit more comfortable
It
being
is outside.
Yeah.
And we will do everything carefully. Any of the food is going to be served with people with gloves. It will not be people
Yeah,
handling things.
everybody's careful.
We're going to do all that stuff. So have your Italian festival on Saturday. Come to us on Sunday morning, walk a little bit of it off,
And if you can't, send in a check
and then go to the Carrot Festival.
Yeah.
And we'll take money any day of the week.
any day
Right.
of the week. Thank you both for being here.
Thank
and,
you.
Thank you.
And keep up the fight.
Thank
We
you.
will.
So
We'll see you
important.
next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
God willing and the creek don't rise. Good. Thank you so much for being here,
Thanks.
and good luck with everything. We're going to switch over and go, we're going to Schoharie County.
Welcome to
Good to
Schoharie
see you.
County.
Yes, yes. I mean, talk about events that are coming up. Melinda's here, McTaggart, and we have Paul Suppley here. And what are you dressed as?
I am a Palatine German farmer. This is what
You
would
do look a
typically
little.
see
You do
someone.
look a little German,
Quite
but
appropriate this time of year.
Palatine's a little bit different, right?
They are. They're different than your standard, what we consider German immigrants from the interior of Germany or around Berlin or something like that. They come from the Rhine, Saar, and Neckar region, which borders the Netherlands and France, actually, Alsace-Lorraine, which we all know.
Oh, really? Okay.
And down to southern Germany. They're refugees. They come over here in the early 1700s as refugees.
So they're different than the ones that are up in Milwaukee.
They are. They are.
Yeah.
Those are much later immigrants.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what we're doing at the Old Stone Fort is a new program. We have a lot of original buildings. We have an original early 1700s house, German house.
Well, the old
have-
stone fort was a church at one
It
time.
was a
Yeah.
church, and there was a previous church there that my great-great-great-grandfather preached at.
Really?
At one time, yes.
Are you
in the
are you making that up?
1720s.
No,
No.
You're
no
not
lie.
making that up. Okay.
but I had two ancestors who were buried in that church.
Really?
Yes,
Is
Found that
so
out
you
fairly
so you
recently.
were both Schoharians.
yes.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, see, the one thing that you don't have to worry about, you're not competing with the Carrot Festival or anything.
No. we're
Because
been
yours is on the
fortunate.
17th, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun day. We have quite a few things arranged for that day. Some people who have been there in the past have seen military operations and reenactments of
Reenactments,
raids
yeah.
and such. We're not
I
doing
mean,
that
they're
this
not real military.
No, we are not doing that this year.
Okay.
There's no military whatsoever. We're focusing on the time period of 1765 to 1775.
Cultural.
Cultural and educational on farm living of these people,
Well, because they were farmers.
Yes.
predominantly farmers.
Yeah.
And making money off
And
of
beer
wheat.
maker.
Not so much beer,
No, not-
but we're having a beer maker.
Yeah,
but,
okay, good.
Cider, hard cider.
Yeah.
That was their drink
Okay,
of choice.
good. And what would you point to your hat? What did you
I
have?
have a little
Oh,
chunk
that's
of
the
wheat in
wheat.
there.
That's
You
wheat.
know,
Yeah.
That was king. That's where everybody made their money. And we're going to be focusing on how those folks transition from being poor immigrants to becoming more influential and
From the agrarian to the business, you mean?
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And really putting Schoharie on the mark until the burning raids when the British and the Loyalists decided to burn just about everything
We
down.
just get to right down.
In the valleys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so important agriculturally during that time period because that was the breadbasket. That in the Mohawk Valley is where all the wheat came that kept General Washington's army.
And we did
going.
grow wheat here. I mean,
did.
it didn't all come from Kansas.
Best wheat in the world
Yeah.
until the canal opened up and they opened up the prairies
Yeah.
in the west. So we want to focus on that. It's a little bit of lost history. But Schoharie itself is still predominantly agricultural
Well, the
business.
Westheimer Farm, when we talked about the Carrot Festival, most of those carrots came from the Westheimers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A great big name down there.
Yeah. So you've got a full day planned, and this is going to be where?
This will be at the Old Stone Fort Museum Complex.
That's what you're calling it, the
Yeah.
Old Stone Fort Day.
Yep, and it's a long-standing program that we have had with the Schoharie County Historical Society since the late 80s, even probably a little bit before. But we've been able to continue this tradition. We used to do a 2-day, now it's a 1-day, so it'll be Saturday from 10 to 4, 145 Fort Road.
Okay, why did you go from 2 days to 1 day?
Just-
Because I just had the Scottish Festival, and they always were 2-day, and they dropped down to 1 day because of COVID, so
Yep.
I'm,
When we started to move to a 1-day was last year, which was our first year back after COVID.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like an easier transition, and then lo and behold, the reenactor corps, our staff, volunteers, it just made it a little smoother and easier for all of us to operate. So we
Okay.
decided to keep it as a 1-day,
and that just, you know, the date. Now, what time does it start?
10 a.m.
What about, parking? Is it-
Parking, once you arrive near the fort, there will be someone at the point which will direct you to the parking area behind the museum complex, behind the fire department.
Will the museum be open?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We are glad to be fully open. We've had some work going on. We've been restoring our 18th century windows, and our second floor had been not accessible, but we are now accessible to that area as well. And you'll get to see some of the work that's ongoing.
Now, you said you're restoring the 18th century windows. Were those stained glass windows?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they are clear glass. A lot of the windows or panes in the windows of the fort are the originals, and our restoration specialist from Sharon Springs has said it's some of the earliest glass he's ever had the privilege to work on.
How would you know it was early glass?
By its-
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
No, that's a good question.
By its waviness, by the way it was cut.
I think
Yeah.
glass is glass.
Yeah.
No, all
Diamonds
this
are
glass
diamonds,
was
you know.
imported.
Yes.
It was all brought over from England. We did not produce pane glass
No, I
here
guess,
in
well, now that I
colonies.
think about it, everything had to be brought here because we didn't have any
Right.
manufacturers.
Right.
Correct. You know, if it wasn't made here.
The Palatine farmers, what did they grow? Wheat, is that it, pretty much it,
Wheat,
or?
most of them orchards, as you see today, apples, pears, cherries, being big crops. The
Did
other
they
thing,
bring their plants with them? They had to, right?
there was a certain number of plants that did come over. Most of them,
Were they indigenous here? or-
No, very few, with the exception of maize, corn, some of the squash and pumpkin varieties.
The
that
Native
natives-
Americans, yeah.
Right, which we know today have become very popular and then spread across Europe afterwards. Yes, those are indigenous plants. But most of the trees and most of the seed that came was from Europe.
Yeah.
So we still see a lot of these in heirloom varieties that are making a comeback. People are storing seeds and such, and much more flavorful, much more nutrient to
Yeah.
it.
They may not look as
No.
the
Right.
same, but the what they are is better. Yeah.
Exactly.
You say that. My grandfather, who was from Italy, and in his backyard, he had, I think, an apple tree. I think it was an apple. I don't know. But he had spliced pears,
Yes.
apricots on the same tree.
You can do that with a fruit tree, absolutely.
And so you'd go and you could pick an apple here, a pear here.
Lovely.
I mean,
4 different varieties of apple on one tree. It can be
is
done.
that amazing? I mean, as a little kid, I just thought it happened. But now as I've gotten older, it's like, he was amazing.
It's a lot of husbandry to do that, yeah, to make it work, you know.
I mean, he worked full-time as a janitor or a GE, and the rest of the time he was in the garden.
Well, today we have the pleasure
And
of
he used to wrap
gardening.
it, wrap the
Sure.
stuff. and-
Gardening is enjoyable today.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just more relaxed.
No,
than
but
it
he
is.
fed his whole family.
Ah, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, these folks did too. And if
Yeah.
you didn't have all this stuff done by fall, you
Well,
weren't
it-
going to do
Right.
too well during the winter.
It's interesting that I remember him digging, and maybe they did this in the Palatines too, or the Palatine Germans. He dug like a hole in the backyard. I mean, he had a good-sized backyard, dug a hole, and then they would put like the cabbages in the hole,
Sure.
and then cover them with old coats and stuff or straw.
Straw.
And then when they needed them, that was their deep freeze, except it didn't freeze the stuff.
Right, absolutely. If you're just a couple feet down, you're below the frost line. Absolutely, that stuff
So
you keep all year
was
long.
that the way they would keep
Very
it there?
common, very common.
Or in
we
a
find
cellar?
very few root cellars. wealthier individuals, General Herkimer's home, for instance, has a root cellar still there. Sir William Johnson's at Johnson Hall has been abolished during Victorian times, but it was in the hillside in the back of the fort, or back of the house.
Yeah.
So this is what the common folk did, absolutely.
Yeah, and then, my grandmother in the attic would take like slices of was it pumpkin or something or other, and she would hang them dried in the attic.
We do that in the attic of our house now, starting to open up apples and, as you say, pumpkins and squash, and drying those upstairs so that we can use them in our programs.
And then you can use them throughout the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If they don't get too dusty, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you wash them, I guess. You'd have to rehydrate
Yeah.
them anyway, so you might as well clean them up. So what I see you both doing is really going back into history and making it come alive.
Correct. And trying to connect it to people's lives today. Why does it matter? What items do we do or have today that's in common with that? Understanding our ancestry and what we did in the past is really pertinent today too.
Oh, yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's not just in agriculture, it's in politics, it's in everything, economics.
Yeah.
It really, and that's what we're trying to demonstrate while focusing more on our area with the rich German heritage.
Well, I think it's important because these were all immigrants that came to this country looking for a better life, but brought their skills with them. And maybe, hopefully there were enough different people that came that brought different skills, or else if they were all farmers, that's all they did.
Oh yeah, look at the wonderful melting pot we are today.
Yeah, it's someone said to me, well, we're not so much a melting pot, we are a tossed salad.
Yeah, excellent.
Somebody told me
Great
that.
description. Very appropriate for us.
And I thought afterwards, I guess in a way we aren't all being the same.
No.
We're all keeping our identities, but appreciating
others.
all together.
Exactly.
It was just recently someone said, oh no, it's not a melting pot, it's a tossed salad. I go,
I love it. We'll use that. We'll start to use that.
I don't know, that's pretty interesting, isn't it?
I like that.
Well, I think that we need to tell our listeners to please join in, go to Schoharie on the 17th of September. What day is that?
It is a Saturday.
Saturday, September 17th. I should know, but I don't. Somehow I can't keep all those dates and days in my brain at the same time. So go to Schoharie. We live in an enriched area. There's stuff going on in Albany and in Troy and Schenectady. And Schoharie's right there.
Half an hour.
Half hour. Just go and enjoy it. You've got so much going on there. I just heard about isn't there an old time? Oh, what is it? Timeline? No. County line? I don't know. There's a museum there somewhere. Timeline, is it? Or Town line?
Is it historic treasures, perhaps?
Maybe. I don't know. I just heard about it. So I think they said it was
Schoharie County
I
Fair.
thought that it was scary.
Which is
I
on
could be
this
wrong.
now.
Erase that. I might be wrong. But I remember hearing about something going on there, that somebody had a little museum there or something. But anyway, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you're joining on the show because I think we need to let people know what's going on in Schoharie. Schoharie's our buddy.
Right,
It's
and
our
we're
buddy.
not that far away.
No, you aren't that
Half
far.
an
Very
hour.
well connected.
From Fort to Schenectady.
Yeah, good.
So
Do
come
it.
see us.
Thank you. And I love your outfit.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
Come on
yes.
down, we'll get
That's
you
what he
dressed
would
up.
have worn. Even the shoes.
Even the shoes.
How'd you do that?
Absolutely. Those are handmade shoes. Absolutely.
I
Wow,
didn't
this-
see them in the local shoe store, so they
No.
must be handmade.
This is the wonderful artisans that we have that we just met.
I'm going to tell you who's coming up in next month on our show. We've got the Back Porch Singers. We got a place for jazz, a salon, and this is amazing. He's doing so much, including an Italian deli in Schenectady, and the Schenectady High School Athletic Hall of Fame, Schenectady Light Opera, the Albany College of Pharmacy and Health Science. They've got a new president. We're going to have her on. We're going to talk to an author. We're going to talk about the Harbinger Theater. And then we've got a quilt exhibition and Tara's Kitchen. If you love Moroccan food and Afghan food, you're going to love that. So stay tuned. Watch us next month. I'm Ann Perilla, Capital Region Today.
What a day, what a wonderful day, what a day, what a